Hey everyone, I want to show you Google's new search feature in 2021 and talk about what it means. This was just released recently. Not too many people probably noticed it. So I'm doing a search here, wedding photographers in El Paso. I'm going to look down here at the organic results. And the first one up here, there's these three little dots next to the search. That wasn't there before. So I'm going to click on these dots and it says about this result. Now this is in beta, which means it's not the final release for this. So they may be adding some more things later. But the source, it says the website did not, was first indexed more than 10 years ago. Site is secure. Gives you the link. The search terms appear in the result: wedding, photographers, El Paso. And you can click here to learn about more search tips. So if you're not really up on SEO or search engine optimization, you can go through here and maybe get some more information. And also, you can go down here and see how search works. So if you're not really understanding how Google ranks sites, you can get some information here from Google. Exactly how search works and how things are ranked. Okay, now let's go back to this result again, because what I want to point out is something very interesting. You see that where it says this index by Google more than 10 years ago. That's in the number 1 position. Number 2 position, indexed by Google 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago. Third position, indexed by Google more than 10 years ago. We're going to skip that one. Indexed 10 years ago. Wedding expressions 10 years ago, indexed. 10 years ago, indexed. 10 years ago. And this one down at the bottom, the number 10, indexed by Google in 2014. Now, what does this tell us? Let's go to the second page. And we'll look at this one at the top of the second page. Indexed 10 years ago. This is peer space. We'll skip that. 10 years ago. 3 best rated we'll skip. 2016. Okay, so now we're starting to see some that are less than 10 years ago, indexed by Google. Some tech will skip. 2015. So what does this mean? Well, for a long time, SEO specialists and professionals have been saying that the age of a domain, or when Google first indexes it, is a ranking factor for Google. Now, some others, SEOs, and Google itself has said, no, this is not a ranking factor. There's other things going on. But time and again in studies done, that we see in a competitive field, to be on the first page of Google, when there's a lot of sites that have age, what we call age domains, or they've been indexed for a long time, they usually populate the top spots. It's very rare for a new website, even one 6 months to 3 years old, to be on the first page of Google. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. If you look over here, I did a search for web design Dallas, Texas. The first one is an up city, so we're not going to do that one. JSL marketing. So look at this, indexed by Google in 2018. So I'm doing this in 2021. It's only 3 years old. So can you rank a site with a domain that's only 3 years old on the first page of Google? In this case, on the number 2 result. Well, yes, you can. Is it difficult to do? Yes. Here's a Big D Creative 10 years ago. Red Spot Design 10 years ago. Well, Skip's Clutch 10 years ago. Expertise will skip. We'll go down here 10 years ago. Upwork will skip. So all the websites that have web design websites on the first page of Google for Dallas, only one of them is less than 10 years old, JSL Marketing. Let's go to the second page. Now, there's other ways you can find out the age of domain, but this is a real quick way. Thrive Agency, they've been around a long time. This is 10 years ago. 2013. You just don't see any new websites. Like a year old or less, 10 years ago. 2012. And 2015. Okay, so you can do a search on your own if you have a website. See how old your domain is. Do a search for maybe your main keyword, and look at the results and see how old are the domains or when Google first indexed them. Now, if you look at a video done in 2010, this is by Matt Cutts, who used to work for Google. He was a Google spokesman for search. This is what he had to say.
For every single domain. So, in general, how important is it for website authority? Well, my answer is not to worry that much. The difference between a domain that's 6 months old versus 1 year old is really not that big at all. So as long as you've been around for at least a couple months, a few months, you should be able to make sure that you're able to show up in the search results.
Okay, so did you hear what he said? 6 months to 1 year doesn't make any difference. But what about 6 months or 1 year compared to 10 years? So that's a big difference. I think he's trying to downplay the age of the domain or when Google indexed it.
So a lot of people are talking about, oh, I want to get pre-aged domains, or I want to get domains from 1994 or something like that. And that's not typically something that you need to worry about. I would say it's often good to go ahead and buy a website, put up a placeholder page to tell people what's coming, and then just go ahead and develop the website. And by the time you get your website live, often that's 2 or 3 months down the line already. So just something to bear in mind. Whois data is not generally available, even though Google is a registrar, a Whois registrar. That's not something that you get automatically from being a registrar. Whereas when you crawl the web, you end up finding new domains relatively quickly after they're registered because of the links to those domains. And when you first crawl a domain, or when you first are able to see a link to a domain, can be a very nice way to measure how old a domain is. So a lot of the times, whenever you're saying, okay, search over some given subject, Mayan art, you can see on the left-hand side there's now a place where you can slice and dice by different dates. So that's actually a combination of different dates, but for example, it could use when we first saw a page or when we first saw a domain name. You might also take into account when it was last updated, all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so you're seeing Google downplaying the age of the domain or when it was indexed or how old your website is. And the data doesn't seem to support that. Now, as we shown in my example here in the Dallas web design, the number 2 ranked site was only 3 years old. So can it be done? Yeah, but to rank a website that's only 6 months old, maybe only a year old, in the top 5 spots in a competitive area of a business is very difficult to do. It does take time to rank sites. And so you need to understand that as a business owner or as an SEO professional. So this is an interesting uh, example here of what they're going to kind of show you about the search and the results and everything. Maybe they'll add a little bit more later on, but I wanted everybody to be aware of that. And again, if you need any help with your SEO, web design, reach out to Blue Lacy SEO. I'll leave a link in the description how you can get in contact with us. So everybody be blessed and have a great day, and we'll see you next time.